5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Atomic Salt Live Show. This is the late week live show where we're going to talk about everything in the tabletop hobby world. As always, I'm joined by my buddy, Casey Roberts. Casey, how's it going this week?
¿Cómo estás tú, UFA?
I see you've been getting into the tequila.
I'm doing great, man. You can tell it has been too long of a weekend for me.
The key thing is you put the cap on that glue.
But it just makes the pain so much easier to get by. It's about the only thing that makes My Little Ponies and Strawberry Shortcake bearable. How people do that sober, I have no clue.
It eats away at your soul, doesn't it?
It does. There's a cold, empty part of me that I believe can only be replaced by alcohol.
That's a great way to start the show off. Folks, if you haven't seen the show before, we talk about everything covering the tabletop hobby world. And if you wanted to join us in the discussion, if you're catching this on the live show, feel free to comment. We'll answer back. And if you catch us on the video on demand, let us know in the comments. We'll talk to you there too. So, Casey, let's start off with what have you done this week?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. Does that count for anything? I actually thought about painting. Right now, I've been listening. The two big ones I've been listening to are the After Owner podcast. It's basically a book club for the Horse Heresy books, and the Independent Character. Actually, big news for the Independent Character. Mr. Carl Tuttle, the GW Evangelist, or at least the 40K Evangelist, has announced that he is giving it up. So,
giving up 40K?
The podcast.
Ah.
So he's decided it's taking too much time, and he's wanting to go in a little bit different direction, and just looking to spend time and effort in other places, which is kind of shocking because right now he is by far the biggest 40K podcast out there. But after 5 years, I guess you gotta consider your options.
Well, we'll find out in 3 years how you feel about this.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if I can handle all the stardom and the fame.
It's the ladies, man. They're always beating at your door.
What can I say? In 3 years, you're going to be like, dragging me out of coke dens and trying to sober me up for the show.
We'll have to. I mean, as soon as you get that Golden Demon Award, then you'll be unbearable.
Oh yeah, dude! I'm going to be doing so many drugs off of that. I will believe that Golden Demon is talking to me. I will be so high because I am so into myself.
Well, good thing you're not a professional painter, because you know what? I don't think I've seen any of those do drugs. So, good luck with that.
It's a good thing I'm not famous, because I don't think I can handle it. I mean, you think Charlie Sheen is amazing? Just wait.
Yeah, I've heard engineers when they go, they drop down that rabbit hole pretty good.
It's one of those questions of the higher you are, the further you have to fall.
You can probably calculate that too.
I can. I can figure out my impact energy and all that good stuff.
So, nothing else in your hobby news this week?
I thought about painting. I really thought about it. Now the house is actually, we're pretty much putting the finishing touches on things. So, I've got a space cleared away. I'm starting to get some free evenings, so it's kind of start digging up the boxes, opening things up, and see what survived and moved, and what needs to be put back together. So What about you, Alan? Enough about my lack of doing things.
Well, we had that lovely Monday off Monday, and yeah, that pretty much scooped up my week. But as far as hobbying goes, I have set up my queue for painting. Haven't touched anything yet, but I did assemble a few more Malifaux figures, and oh yes, I did our monthly Iron Kingdoms RPG. So that's what I did this week.
You know, we should talk about that later because I think they actually let's transition right into news because they've had a bit of an announcement, didn't they?
Yes, just recently they announced that Iron Kingdoms Unleashed. This is the Hordes side of Iron Kingdoms, the RPG. That will be coming out here, I believe, in April. That's the second core rulebook for the more primal side of Iron Kingdoms.
Okay, so then like with regular Hordes versus War Machine, these two books will be able to play together, correct?
I'm not quite sure. Um, the Iron Kingdoms regular rulebook is you would see that more of city base, more civilized areas. The Unleashed side is more feral. These characters are fighting to survive in in lands that will pretty much eat them if they don't stop.
Oh, that sounds like where I come from. We call it Arizona.
So yeah, this is going to be a different side. This is going to be a lot more skin and bones type of thing. Like with instead of eating food at an inn, you have to go and hunt it down yourself.
Okay, so I guess let me ask you this. Um, would any of the factions conceivably work with any of the factions like from Hordes?
Yes, we're
Okay.
going to see Gatormen, the Pharaoh, which are the pig folk, the trolls, the unblightedness, so it's the Legion of Everblight, but not corrupted, and Circle of Ouroboros. Yes, Circle of Ouroboros. They're the more humanistic-looking faction of the Hordes.
Okay, but you could conceivably have an RPG party where you have one or two of those guys walking around with like the blue guys or the red guys or
Yep.
the white and purple guys.
You can have your group full of troll bouncer, a Gatorman sniper, a Pharaoh bone grinder, all this in a party. As long as your GM is up to snuff, you can make it work. Just
Hey,
remember, when the GM smiles, everybody dies.
I don't think I'm going to let you GM when we do an RPG. Because
That's probably a good thing.
Okay. Well, in other news, let's talk about Necrons. Have you seen that we have new Necrons coming out, Alan?
That's what they just had the 40 up on GW's website. They have them on pre-order.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this guy. So we're really not having any much in the way of new models. All we're really seeing is this one guy here, this Necron Overlord. You should be able to see him here, right? Is he showing up?
Cool. I like the scythe on him.
Oh, I think that is actually probably the best part of this model. It's a really nice model too. I'll confess, I think the little headpiece he's got going on there is a little goofy, but I love like this back piece. You know how it's like this part armor, part cloak thing with all these little segmented metallic pieces. But yeah, it's a really nice model. I think they've done a good job on it. question you have to ask yourself: is it worth $28?
That's the thing. A lot of these new kits are clamshell plastics. They're not fine cast, so that's a good thing, but they're pretty pricey.
Yeah, especially for something that's not going to have a lot of customization. I mean, this is a single pose model. So unless you're looking to cut him up and do your own conversions, this is the only pose, the only set of war gear that you're going to have available. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because it's an incredibly nice plastic model, but at $28, you really have to start weighing whether or not it's worth it.
Well, and also that we saw before, or we've been seeing in the last couple of codexes, if they don't have a profile, there's not going to be, or if they're, you're not going to make new units unless there's a kit for it.
Right.
So from the last Necron Codex was the last one before the new series of books came out.
Right. It was our last 5th edition book.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that out. I mean, are we gonna, like, I know I have one friend who was completely upset that the pariahs were out of the last edition book because he has a whole bunch of metal pariahs. And so, I mean, this is GW, so we're going to see some smoothing of the rules.
Yeah, and which is good, because the Necrons were in a really awkward place. They were the last 5th edition codex to come out, and it had a lot of really odd stuff in it, which we found out was really to make sure that they were compatible with 6th edition. And so, in a way, you can almost argue it was our very first 6th edition codex. But it's gotten pretty long in tooth, and it hasn't really survived the transition to 7th very well. And there was a few things that were kind of broken. Well, people say it was broken, but I didn't see them winning many tournaments. So obviously they weren't that scary. But every change I've seen looks pretty good to me. The new Satan powers look very cool. So I don't know, and let's be honest.
We'll see some people actually using that big Satan model.
Oh gosh, I hope not. It's putting out like Assault 3, AP3 large templates. I don't want to mess with that. Like, I'm Tau, and I don't want to mess with that kind of firepower.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really waiting to see when the Codex comes out next week.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's all in the rules. So.
And from what I heard now, they've the rumor mill so far says their flyers got nerfed, which I'm pretty okay with.
You know, they were fairly strong flyers. I agree. Honestly, it wasn't their gunship that I was that interested in. It was their transport that I thought was really impressive. But I mean, again, you didn't see. You know, a Kron Air Force was something that everybody talked about in the beginning, and you saw it like in a couple tournaments, and everybody was afraid of it. And then we all started playing it and said, "Oh, it's actually not that bad."
I mean, well, trying to take down their assault barge or whatever it was.
Yeah, okay.
That thing was a pain in the butt.
Yes, there were some different. The thing that made Necron vehicles a pain in the butt was quantum shielding, which turned any vehicle into like an armor 14 vehicle all around. I kept saying, "Oh, well, it's only for like until you get the first penetrating shot." Well, yeah, try and put a penetrating shot on armor 14. That takes a lot of work.
You have to have something that can take it out first.
Yeah. And yeah, gosh, I mean, because that. Yeah, so the Necrons need a little bit of work, but I think that it's all looking good.
I just hope they nerf the Scarabs, because watching my Land Raider get eaten was never fun.
No, That is amazingly fun. I love the idea of scarabs going up and devouring your 250-point tank. But a bunch of little bitty bugs comes up and starts nomming on you. I wish that I would like to see them do more of that. I'd like to see any army that goes into close combat with scarabs like lose a point or two off of their armor save. Represent the bugs too.
According to the rules, that's what they do, is that you lose your armor save. But more likely you have one wound and you pretty much die anyways.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess paladins would be afraid of them. But speaking of heavy armor, Alan, tell me, have you seen this big guy right here?
Is this from Forge World?
Maybe.
Oh.
This, you are looking at the brand new Dorito Dreadnought. And I did not mispronounce that. It is Derevo. So I'm seeing Dorito. So the question is, do you like your dreadnoughts as regular or Cool Ranch?
That thing is just crazy looking. I mean, let's take a dreadnought, and we're going to put guns on it, and we're going to put more guns on it. And then, you know what? He needs flamers in the front. Why? Because he likes to have guns.
You know what this really reminds me of? Did you ever play Mech Warrior back in the day?
Yes.
He looks a lot like a Mad Cat. I'm old school, so I think of him as a Timberwolf, but he kind of looks like a Mad Cat / Timberwolf.
Except when he dies, he blows up instead of ejecting out and then causing a nuclear explosion.
Yes. Yeah, he will blow big. But rules form wise, it's amazing because he's actually a front armor 13 dreadnought, which he looks like. So he's 13, 12, 11. Just an amazing amount of DACA on those autocannons. Whereas if he doesn't move, the next turn he actually gets Skyfire and Interceptor.
Reading the fluff on this guy, it's interesting. Because they say that this pattern is very hard to create. They did it in very limited numbers. But they built them first. And according to the fluff, you have to be an exemplary space marine that they want to keep you around, and they stick you in this life support system. So whoever this space marine is in this Dorito frame must have been a gun nut, because he probably has no tactical prowess. He has no combat system or combat grace. Guy just likes shooting things. So, because that's all he's gonna do. Like, we need somebody to stay in the chapter. This guy likes to shoot, so we're gonna give him something to shoot with.
Yeah, it makes you think like maybe in a previous life this guy was a Devastator sergeant, or maybe he was a captain that kind of cut his teeth in the Devastators. But yeah, he was not an assaulter. He was not a chaplain or anything else like that, because he's going to be going nuts in there. Because he has pretty much no close combat abilities. But with guns like that, you sure don't need them.
Yeah. I mean, but it's Forge World, so that means you have to buy the one frame and then the gun's extra. So
that is correct. You will have to buy the body, the chassis by itself, then the autocannon arms are a separate piece, and the rocket pods on top is a third piece. So I think it'd actually be kind of cool if you imagine taking those autocannon arms off and putting like regular arms on. Now, I granted there isn't anything in place for the rules for it, but imagine giving him like a couple of power cloths. How cool is that? I'm just really, I know some people don't like it, but I'm really digging like his souped up, like the beefy legs and kind of like the up armored front. I've never been a big fan of their Contemptor series of dreadnoughts, but this guy, he is checking all the boxes for me. So I think he'll look really good in Space Wolf Gray.
Space Wolf Gray and a dog pelt here and there.
Yeah, because everything looks better with wolf pelts and bones. And we'll hang some bones on it.
I mean, hey, you know what? It fits well because was it Russ was the chapter master? So yeah, give the guy who they named the tank after a dreadnought that has more guns than the NRA allows.
Even Charlton Heston is rethinking the amount of guns that this thing has. So we're gonna make another. I know we were just talking about space puppies, but let's talk about kitties for a minute. Is that okay?
Where are you going with this?
Where am I not going, dude? I am all over the place tonight. I want to talk about exploding kittens.
Wait a minute, this looks familiar. Is this the guy from the oatmeal?
It is. It is. This is by Mr. Inman, Matthew Inman, I guess. Mr. I don't know, so he's Mr. to me. But it's a card game. So check out this number right over here on the right side.
Holy cow! And that just barely started, didn't it?
I think we're 4 days into it? Yeah, so in 4 days they've raised close to $4 million.
You know, with the success of the one black and white card game, Cards Against Humanity. I think this will be the next Cards Against Humanities.
I hope it's better than Cards Against Humanities.
But I mean but it's Cards Against Humanity. I mean, it's a game that you can play with friends, and it's not a big name game. You can only get it from a certain people, and it's something fun. You're not gonna be overly hard with your friends about it, but you're just gonna enjoy your time with it. And I think that's what this game's gonna be.
I think so. I think this is actually going to be your perfect drinking game, or like your perfect con game. You know, after you've blown through 2 or 3 rounds of 40K, you're a little bit brain dead, and it's time just to have a little bit of fun with your buddies. You know, you whip this deck out. Because really the rules are simple. It's basically a mix of Uno and Russian roulette. But,
yeah, I mean, definitely get on this one. This is going to be the next probably big game out there. It's already blowing up records, so.
Yeah, and I mean, with Inman behind it, it's not really surprising. This is a guy, he spent a lot of time leveraging his internet power. You know, there's a lot of kind of cult of personalities out on the web that try to avoid it, or, you know, they don't like it when their fans get up and start doing things. But Inman really encourages his people to go out and donate to different causes that he's interested in or that he believes in. He actively pushes a few different charities. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but we're really, you know, he's raised a lot of money when it's for charity purposes, but when you're raising money and people are getting stuff back, you're really seeing the power of the internet right here.
Oh, for sure.
Really interesting. The interesting thing is going to be to see what they do for stretch goals. Because I don't know if they anticipated this amount of money. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But they've been very quiet about, because I mean, obviously they've blown past their $10,000 goal many, many times over. And they've talked a little bit about expanding their second not safe for work deck. And that's about it. So I can't help but wonder if these guys were caught really flat-footed, and they just weren't prepared for it. Or maybe they're waiting for this number to kind of stabilize a little bit before they start introducing stretch goals. Because there's no point in them saying, well, we're going to put all of our stretch goals in place at $1.5 million, and then they would have blown past it. And there would be nothing going on. So I imagine once in another few days, this number will slow down and we'll kind of hit the doldrums, and then we'll start seeing the stretch goals happen. I hope. Or this is all they've got planned for us, and it's basically a big pre. So I don't know which one it is, but it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it hit this far, so as soon as it gets out there towards the end, it's going to literally explode.
But I can't help but wonder, there's a number of other games, like Conan is going on right now, Tiny Epic Galaxies is going on, where everybody was really feeling like, oh man, this Kickstarter has the magic, this is a big deal. And now this is just come and totally stolen everybody's thunder. Like, they've sucked all the air out of the room. I can't help but wonder what those Kickstarter creators are thinking or feeling right now.
Every Kickstarter is different, and you have to, one, know your audience, and two, sell them the benefits. And
but you got to think, it's got to be hard when you're like, oh man, both of these Kickstarters I just named are doing very well for themselves. They've already they're checking off stretch goals, so they're not worried about anything. You can't help but wonder if they're looking over it like that, $4 million. Like, man, I wonder how much of that money could have been mine if they weren't here.
But you know what? Miniatures games is a lot different than card games. And I mean, like Thon, that was 3 years ago. It looked like a really good game and all that, and it was looking to be funded, but they canceled it because a miniatures game requires molds, and that's the most expensive part.
All right, well, you got any other news for us, Alan? Because I'm all done. More pointless transitions from me.
Let's see, what else do we have? I know a lot of people we have Adepticon and the Las Vegas Open coming up soon.
Yep.
The LVO is next month, right? And
February, yes.
And Adepticon is right after that. And this weekend, Gen Con, tickets and housing went up. So we're getting into con season, and that means we're going to see a lot of companies holding off until they pop into these cons and show off what's new.
That's true for most companies, except for Corvus Belli. Because if you remember last year, we all said, oh, they're going to slow down, There's going to be a little bit of dry spot beforehand, a little bit of dry spot afterwards. No, those guys were like full throttle, like all year long.
Last year was a good year for them, and like friends of the show, Twisted Miniatures, they're at CanCon in Australia this weekend, showing off their game and their line of miniatures. So, but speaking of Infinity, last week they gave us the profiles for Human Sphere and Paradiso. And then this week we got a FAQ and weapon charts.
So it looks like we got everything we need to play.
We're just waiting for an army builder and a wiki, and we'll be set.
Army builder. Is your American math skills really so bad that you need a computer to add everything up for you?
No, it's my art skills are so bad. I want something pretty. It says, here's everything lined up for you.
Whatever, Alan. I sat down with a pen, paper, and a calculator, and I actually built lists. What did you do?
I use Excel.
Well, aren't you just a fancy pants, Mister? I got a computer and I know how to use it.
That is true. I do.
We're living in the van down by the river eating government processed cheese. You won't have a clickety-clack computer to go working on, now will ya? Hey, Ma, I don't got my glasses on. Is that Mr. Bill Gates I see?
Again, cap on the glue. Close it tightly.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was like probably the worst Chris Farley impression I've ever heard.
If you want Chris Farley, we'll get Grim back on the show.
He does do a good Chris Farley. It's been too long since we've had Grim on. We ought to have him back.
So, you were showing off this fancy list. Why did you build a list this week?
All right. So last week we looked at Aleph and Hakkislam. This week we're going to take a look at Pano and Ariadne. So would you like to go first or second?
I will go first this week.
All right.
All right. So, 150-point list. I'm using profiles from the new book for the most part.
Okay, did you build a list in N2 Army Builder, or did you just go to N3?
I went to N3 because some of these are not even released yet.
Okay.
So, for my list, I have 3 Minutemen. The 5th Minutemen, the Ohio. These are heavy infantry troops. One of them is my lieutenant. All 3 of them are 22 points. They have a rifle and 2 light flamethrowers apiece.
2 flamethrowers apiece?
Correct. And they have Kinematica level 1 multi-terrain. They're non-hackable, and they have shock immunity. These guys are rolling in with an arm 3.
Well, isn't that just pleasant?
And let's see, what else did I put on? I have, because I love the Frenchies so much, I put in 2 Luke Guru. These guys are sporting the viral rifles. These come in at 21 points apiece. And because the 112 is the most powerful unit in the game, I threw him in there. He's only 12 points, and he's my medic.
Huh.
And then a 13 Emmy mob lots. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. These guys have the Black Widow symbol. He is carrying an HMG. He's giving me my 1.5 SWC, and he's coming in at 29 points.
Okay.
And so most of these guys are heavy in the armor and packing some serious heat. You don't want to get close to these guys.
Hey, it's my wife. She just brought me a drink.
Rum and Coke?
I love my wife. This is why we need to get you set up, Alan, so we can have a lady bring you drinks.
Was that a white, Black Russian?
No, we've got tastes like a strawberry, banana, maybe a hint of raspberry smoothie.
Just enough you can't taste the rat poison?
You can't. I know it's not antifreeze because it's still frozen.
So yes, that's my Ariadne list. 7 orders, 1.5 SWC.
Nice. And with the Moblot, and you've got a little bit of everything in there, don't you?
Yep. And I was trying to. Actually, I think I can take. Double check. The Minutemen. I can take them all as, except for the lieutenant. as forward observers for the same price.
Oh, outstanding.
Yes. So just one extra point, and they become forward observers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
All right.
I could have a good mission objective based team.
Yeah, that's a really, really nice team for that. But I really like Ariadne. Once I'm done with my left army, and then once I'm done with my combined army, I might do an Ariadne army.
Once they do the American sectoral, I might be swapping to the second army.
See, but I know that we should have like pride in our country, and I do. Ooh, yeah. But I gotta say, I kind of like the Frenchies. I like their sectoral.
Yeah, those look Guru and a Link team, pretty nasty.
Very nasty. The Chasseurs are really nasty. Moblots are nasty. I think the Anaconda is a great tag that you can put in there. So you've also got Mirage 5. Yeah, no. Ariadne has got a lot of very cool stuff. So we'll see. And then when they put the United States in, it'll be even more awesome.
Anything that will let me take an Anaconda in my list, I'll do it.
Yeah. You gotta love the Anaconda, right? I think it's one of the best looking tags they've ever made.
It's got a great looking pilot.
Yes, yes it does. Kind of looks like my wife. But
Hey, whatever you do on your game table. So what's this list you have?
okay, because we don't know who might be watching this. Okay, so I'm just using a generic Pano where I stuck with vanilla here. So at 150 points, we're starting off with a group of Fusiliers. They are the most vanilla of vanilla line infantry you could ever imagine. So close combat 13, ballistic skill 12, willpower 12, armor 1. But they're cheap. They are dirt cheap. We have a lieutenant for 10 points and 0 SWC. He's got a combi rifle. We've also got a Fusilier hacker. I realize that there's probably better hackers out there, but at 150 points, I'm not too afraid. And, with 12, he might be able to do something. And then just for giggles, because I'm not a nice person, we've got a Fusilier with a missile launcher.
Nice. Well, reach out and touch someone.
Yeah, he actually got significantly cheaper from N2 to N3, so I was a little worried about how much he was going to cost me. But this is all N3 profile, so only 15 points for a Fusilier with a missile launcher. So with that big circle template, he doesn't necessarily have to be accurate. Next, we have a Sikh Commando. These guys are 80 combat jump, and they're a religious troop. Armor 2, Whip 13, Ballistic Skill 13 as well. Not too good at close combat. They're only at 15. But he's got a boarding shotgun. So walk him in from a table edge, kill what needs to be killed, and then let him dig in.
Yeah, nothing like that +6 within 8 inches.
Yeah. Next after that we have, and this is kind of where I kind of waffled a little bit. Because there's a couple different ways I could go with it. But I went with a Croc Man. He's a mine layer version, so he is a specialist. But he has TO camo and infiltration. And then wrapping it up, we have Constantinos. He's a specialist, and he also has infiltration.
This is the one from the Dire Foes box, correct?
That's right. He's one of our dire foes. And he's really cool looking, too. So, I've got the missile launcher. That's kind of like my big, heavy hitter. Oh, and then I had a few extra points to play around. I actually had 10 points left over. So, I kind of like this list because I have 2 infiltrating units. One guy has TO camo. Then I've also got an AB combat drop guy. So it feels like it gives me a lot of mobility. I can really deploy how I want to. Or I could swap out the Crocman or for a Knight Hospitaller with a Doctor with a multi-weapon. So
150 points. I mean, that's a very small learning game. TO, camo in a small game, it's going to give you an advantage.
it is, but at the same time, a Doctor with Armor 4 and a multi-rifle has its advantages as well.
Very true.
So I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Pano player out there. I think both of these lists will work really well because they give you a lot of options out there. You have a missile launcher, you have a hacker, you have TO camo, you have a couple of infiltrators, you have 80 combat drum, and then you have the possibility for heavy armor as well. So you can really flex this to your playstyle. If you want to be tricky, you can go with the double infiltrators. If you just want to walk right up the middle of the board and just punch people in the face, we can do that too. But I gotta say, after looking at what I can do with this, I think after I'm done with the area on the army, I'm probably gonna have to do a Pano.
Well, you just need to pick yourself up the Operation Ice Storm box, and you'll have your Pano.
Yeah, good luck finding them. What I really need to do is I just need to start forwarding my paycheck to Corvus Belli, and it'll make this process so much simpler.
They'll take your money.
I know they will. Okay, so enough about my crippling shiny key disability. Should we talk about the facts? Because that's the next big piece of information that's coming up.
Sure. I mean, yeah, the facts came out this week. It covers the Human Sphere and Campaign Paradiso.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 pages of stuff, and I just briefly looked over these because some of it, it's like the full rule book. There's a lot of rules, but you're only going to focus the one on your armies. But what did you pick out that you saw interesting?
The big thing that I saw first of all is what happens to linked teams. And there's been a lot of discussion about this I've seen on the forum. Some people think it's really good, other people think it's really bad. I'm in the category that this is all really good. So first of all, let's talk about the bad. First of all, linked teams can only perform orders that at least have 1 movement skill. Or at least a long order with a movement skill. So that means that with a linked team, you're not going to be able to do climbing, you're not going to be able to do speculative fire, and you're not going to be able to put out suppression fire.
And from what I saw on the Facebook, if you're a hacker and you do the one that makes you impersonation, it doesn't work for the team.
Correct. So honestly, I don't think that's a really huge deal. Well, losing suppression fire kind of stinks. I'll give you that, but not being able to climb or jump or things like that, I'm not too worried. Let's be honest. If you've actually played the game and tried to move a link team around the board, it's not that easy. And so
It depends on the board too.
Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, true. Depends on the board, but link teams can be a little bit unwieldy to move around the board. So getting rid of that stuff just kind of cleans it up. But here's where I think it gets a lot better. First of all, in the old rules, when you had a link team, and if you went into Lost Lieutenant, it broke that link team. Now, it doesn't anymore. So Lost Lieutenant does not break link teams. So I think that's pretty amazing. Honestly, that's the biggest thing for me right there. You don't need Lieutenant words to get to reform them. That's their new command tokens. The other big thing I saw also involves Lost Lieutenant, which is Hollow Echo troops. So it used to be that your Hollow Echo troops, when they went to Lost Lieutenant, they just started falling back, and so your model NS2 Hollow Echoes fell back. Now, when you go into retreat, the Hollow Echoes are canceled, which I think is just delicious because honestly, those Hollow Echo troops were usually the kind of guys who are moving up, like way far up the field. And so when they get in retreat, they've got a long way to run and they've got no defenses. These guys are really going to get hurt by this rule. What about you? Was there anything that really stuck out to you, Alan?
Well, like the Evo repeater, they made some changes to it. It's kind of got nerfed a little bit, but an Evo repeater was very hard to take in a list, so you still get a little bit of a buff for having multiple. I believe it's multiple hackers, but it's like one of those units that you really want to put in a list, but it's not for every army. I can see Evo Repeater doing really well in Nomads because they like their hackers. I've got one for my Hakazan list, but I don't ever take it because that's points I could spend elsewhere.
So overall, do you feel like the Evo repeaters were nerfed?
To a degree, I believe they have been, but if you're the only time I'd ever take an Evo repeater is if I'm building like a 400-point list, where I'm going to have two groups. They're going to function differently. One's going to be supportive, one's going to be offensive. And I mean, Evo repeaters are great for 80 combat troops, where you can, if you do successful hacking, you can bring them on the board wherever you want.
Cool. But yeah, so facts are out there, people. Go download them. We'll put a link under the video where you can find those at. Along with one more thing. The new Human Sphere Paradiso N3 weapons chart.
Mm-hmm.
This is the last piece of the puzzle. So we have all of our unit profiles. We know how the rules between Human Sphere and Paradiso work with the core rulebook now. And now we've got all the guns back.
And I've seen people, I have friends, they've taken these files down to their local printer, had them printed and binded, and they're ready to go. So there's really no excuse not to pick these up and get yourself a starter box to play.
Yeah, and honestly, the weapon charts were the best thing of N2, and I think that they're still the best thing of N3 because they've done a really nice job. Now, to be fair, I've really gone through this, and I haven't seen any huge surprises. Two interesting things is suppressive fire. You don't really see a whole lot of new suppressive fire. You've got the AP marksman rifle can do it. Marksmanship rifle, obviously, is the same thing. Noticeably, your rocket launchers cannot do suppressive fire.
And they got two profiles now.
They do. They have a their template profile and they're just a direct shot profile. I guess that's cool.
Well, it's cool. I mean, if you have somebody in that blast range, you don't want to kill your own troop. So it's great to have that nice little, I'm just going to put 2 rockets down your throat instead of, all right, here we go.
So, one sad thing, I mean, I guess it shouldn't be much of a surprise, but viral rifles, or, well, any sniper rifles, do not have the suppressive fire sticker on it, so to speak. So, and that kind of bums me out. I would have liked to have been able to set up like some defensive snipers.
But in reality, a sniper is going to be sitting in a spot overlooking an area and taking their time to shoot somebody. Not in a high pressure scenario. It's going to be very hard for them to get a beat on somebody.
Okay, you convinced me, Alan. You convinced me. So, but yeah, look at all this stuff. You've got, like I said, everything is here. There's no big surprises. I like that they've got all the different profiles, like for grenades, right next to it. Everything's been very standardized. It looks very clean. It's very nice, and it's all easy to read.
Yeah.
So I like that all the grenades have been capped to 16 inches. So you can't just have like one lone guy in the background just hucking grenades, just hoping for that lucky crit.
The lucky crit or the super scatter.
Yep. But yeah, so nothing surprising there. It looks nice. Once again, Corvus Belli's doing a very nice job. They've gotten the rules out when they claim to. And we've got everything we need to play. So, you got your minis ready, Alan?
My what?
You got your minis ready?
I've got my, yeah. And I'm ready to buy some new ones, too. Especially that Margarita Guard, whenever it comes out.
Yeah, that's a slick looking one. So, I mean, of course, it's probably going to weigh a metric ton. I'm calling it right now. 2 pounds. So, all right. Well, that's all I've got for this evening. What about you, Alan?
Let's see. So we're on the topic of Infinity. Mr. Angel Giraldez put out another teaser this week.
We're going to tease with the teaser? That's just not nice.
Yeah, he loves to. I mean, he knows we want this book, and this week he put out a little teaser video of the actual pages of the book. So it's ready to go. He's sending it to the printers.
You would happen to have that video pulled up, would you?
Not right now, but I'll put in the link down in the description.
Yeah, it's a fun little video, and if you're not paying attention, you're just thinking, oh, he's just kind of showing a couple random pages. But right at the end, he teases the next page.
Yep, the Jeanne d'Arc.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I hope she looks good.
Well, hope she looks good. I mean, most of the miniatures are pretty good, so.
I'm just saying the last 2 Joan of Arcs. Well, the last Joan of Arc has not been amazing. It was their older style, and all their new stuff has looked really good. But I'm just really hoping they can develop this one, because a few of their last few exclusive miniatures really haven't got me excited. I mean, they look nice, but it was nothing that I started screaming and reaching for my wallet. No offense, guys over at CB. You know, I know you watch this show. We love you still. I still love you.
Now you're getting desperate.
That's how we started this show off, so I figured why not end it, right?
Very true. So are you done are you done selling yourself out for the week?
Well, I guess so.
All right. So on that note, thank you guys for watching and tuning in. We will see you next week. This will be like, yes, we record on Sundays. The VOD will be up on Thursdays. Please comment below. Let us know what you think, what topics you liked, what topics you want to see from us. Like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to see more.
Yep. And as always, if you're interested in us reviewing anything, or you have a comment for us, you can get a hold of us at theatomicsalt@gmail.com. We are the Atomic Salt, and we've just blown your mind.
With exploding kittens. Coming
Yes,
soon.
with exploding kittens.
Coming soon to a theater near you. Good night, folks.